back for a new video or video series. And in this one, I'm going to be playing some solo Atlantic Chase from GMT Games. Um, Always a game that I've been really fascinated by. Have played some of it, not a huge sort of expert at it by any means, but I've always been sort of fascinated by it. And I felt like there weren't a lot of videos in the world of much other than the intro scenario. So I thought what I'd do is I'd play some of the more interior solo scenarios. So anyway, what we're going to be playing is essentially the Bismarck scenario. So we're going to be playing as the Germans. And we will be trying to break out the Bismarck and sink British tonnage. So with that, let me jump right in. I'll say ahead of time, there's a very high possibility that I will make some mistakes here. I am not an expert on this game at all. And the other thing I have found as I've played it sort of, solo is sometimes I end up going a little bit too fast and forgetting to do certain things. Most notably, I forget to make like the weather roll. But I will do my best here to sort of play deliberately and get this right. I'm not going to really cover at all how to play the game. I think there's a lot of really good videos on how to play the game out there, so that doesn't seem to be super necessary. But definitely, if you see me doing anything wrong, leave a note in the comments, and I'll try to clean that up if I do future plays of this game. So looking at the situation, I have the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen here, and I am facing 4 British task forces as well as mines. The mines are mostly there to create intel if I pass through that space, which I have no intention of doing. And then I have a convoy that is heading to Gibraltar, and a convoy that is heading. This one is going from Liverpool or Plymouth to Gibraltar, and this one is coming from Halifax to Plymouth or Liverpool. In terms of what I'm facing, so this right here is a cruiser. This is a cruiser and a light cruiser. This is the Hood and the Prince of Wales, so a battle cruiser and a battleship. This is the big task force here that has a battleship, a carrier, some light cruisers, and a heavy cruiser. And then the 2 convoys are protected by battleships. The one heading to Gibraltar is protected by the Rodney, which is not a bad battleship, although slow, and the one heading protecting the inbound convoy is protected by the Ramillies, which is not such a great battleship. It has doesn't have a gunnery factor for long or very long. So with my first action of the game, the Germans start with initiative, as you'd expect. So with my first action of the game, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start to break the Bismarck out. Now I'd love to do this in crappy weather, but I don't think I can just sit here in port and do nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a trajectory this way, and I'm going that extra hex up there because what I want to do is I want to get as quickly as I can out of air range of Scapa flow, so that hopefully I can avoid an airstrike. An airstrike, I think, is probably one of the sort of worst possibilities here in terms of damaging me. And then what I'm going to do is, because this is, and then I'm going to place an intel marker here. I place an intel marker because I am, my trajectory is entering a space with a hex with an intel trigger, a station in this case being the intel trigger. So I place an intel marker there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to engage with this. And even though I don't stand a very good chance of it happening, one of the reasons I'm doing it is it opens the possibility that I can maintain initiative. And so what I'd love to do, the Bismarck is medium speed, which means that it can move 3 spaces in good weather, or 3 hexes in good weather. So if I can get 2 moves in a row, then I will end up out of air range in my initial breakout. So that's the hope. So we will start by rolling an interrupt for the intel marker. So the British will be attempting to interrupt using the intel marker, and that table is right there. So I'm rolling 2 dice, and I'm on the first column because I only have 1 intel marker. So I got a 5. So that's going to give me a -1 to the roll that I'm about to make, which is on this engage table. So my trajectory length is in the 5 to 9 column. You can look at that. So, get this off the board, sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my trajectory length is 8. So I'm rolling here -1. So I'm only going to actually like engage or get an engage result if I end up rolling really well here, which I don't expect to do. But I do actually do that. So you can see that's a 6. Even though it's cocked, this is one thing about tabletop is even if the dice ends up cocked based on the physics, you can just hover over it and it'll tell you what face it's supposed to be on. So that's an 11, -1 is a 10. So I end up getting this eyeball result. So that eyeball result is a skirmish, which is the same as contact, but if the active task force is faster than the target, the active player can initiate a limited battle. I'll double check, but I'm reasonably certain I'm not faster. And you can see here the Norfolk, which is what I'm chasing, is fast, and I know that the Bismarck is medium. So I'm not faster. So this is, in fact, going to turn into just a contact result. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach a contact marker to this, which is just going to make it easier for me to find him, because now we've actually sort of made contact with him. And then I time lapse, in which case I'm going to remove 3 segments, because I'm a medium speed convoy, from my trajectory. And now we vie for initiative. If you look at the naval search table, the engage table, you vie for initiative. So the red dice is for the British, the blue dice is for the Germans. And on a tie, I maintain initiative. I do increase the tally marker by 1, so the British will now start getting a +1 when we do initiative rolls. But I am going to repeat this action. So I'm going to do an engage action again. So the British are going to roll for interrupt again. And a 6 is pretty much the same result. I get a -1 on this roll. But this time, with the contact marker, I'm going to get some additional modifiers on my engage roll. So because the target is fast, I will be getting an additional +2. So +2 minus the 1 from the interrupt, so I'll get a +1 on this roll. My trajectory is down to 5, which unfortunately doesn't actually change the column that I'm on. So I'm still rolling in the same column, but in this case with a +1. So that's not great. That's clearly going to be a miss, 6 or less. But it does really actually sort of achieve my major early aim, which is I get to time lapse again. So now I'm at least out of airstrike range of the British. This scenario is taking place, I should mention, in 1941, and this British airbase doesn't come in until 1942. So I'm out of airstrike range at this point. And then at this point, I will vie for initiative again. In this case, we'll be adding 1 to the British die, so 1 to the red die. So that's a tie again, which means I'm going to maintain the initiative again. Now the British tally marker moves up, and now they're going to get a +2. But now I stand actually a pretty good chance, if this interruption roll doesn't go badly for me, I stand a pretty good chance of actually bringing this cruiser to combat. So we'll roll for interrupt again. And that's going to be a -1 again. So our trajectory total is now just 2, which is going to put us on this column. But because he's faster than I am, I'm going to need to get into this 10 to 11 row in order to actually bring him to battle. This would, either the 8 or the 9 results, because he's faster than me, would just turn that into a contact. So basically, I need to roll a 9 or higher because I have a +1 on this roll, and we'll roll 2 dice, but that is not going to do it. So I get a miss. I time lapse again, which is going to actually turn me into a station. And with that, the intel marker comes off the board. Intel markers, unlike contact markers, can't attach to a station. They only attach to trajectories. So the intel marker actually comes off the board. And now I'm going to vie for initiative again. Now the British are getting a +2 this time. Despite the +2, I am going to be going once again. So we move their tally marker up to 3. This, I have to say, is a pretty good start for the Bismarck. Now, but I face an interesting choice here. And that interesting choice is that I know from the victory conditions that I actually don't get anything for destroying this cruiser. I very likely could end up destroying this cruiser, but I don't actually get any victory points for destroying cruisers. So what I'm going to do, instead of actually trying to engage with this cruiser, because I don't want to get caught here. The British are likely to get initiative next, and I really don't want to end up getting caught here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put down a trajectory. I'll go through that rendezvous hex, and I want to make sure that I stay out of range of this airbase here. That airbase comes in 1940. So I've actually done this incorrectly. I want to actually come in like this. So I want to make sure that I'm never within 2 hexes of this airbase. Again, I'm trying to avoid giving him the ability to do airstrikes. So we'll just tidy up this trajectory a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically come down here and I'm going to try to intercept this convoy. Now, I get an intel marker again, because I have placed a trajectory in a space with an intel trigger. So that's that station. And now, instead of doing engage, because engage is the target has to be a station, this time I'm just going to do a naval search. So I've got two trajectories here, and I know this one is 11 because it says so in the setup. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My trajectory is 9. So I've got a total trajectory length here of 20. Now I will roll on the interrupt table again. This time I get a 10 result. And that 10 is going to have me vying for initiative. So we will come down here and we will vie for initiative. Now remember, the British are getting a +3 on this. And somehow I still actually maintain the initiative. So in this case, having maintained the initiative, I just continue with my original action, which is a naval search. So we're out here on this row here. So I'm going to roll on this naval search table and I get an 8, which is an early or late result. And before I do that, I'm going to make one small retcon to what I did. This is where I'm still getting used to this game. Given that early or late was the most likely result, I'm actually going to have my interception take place here. And the reason being is that otherwise I would be left with this as the trajectory that I would be going after next. And that is within 2 spaces of that airbase. So with this early or late result, I delete this segment and then I can delete everything after it, which means next turn I could possibly go after this trajectory segment. And if I it doesn't end up leaving me within 2 spaces of that airbase. Now I time lapse, and I am going to be pulling them from here, which means I'm going to be pulling them from this intel marker, which means I'm intel limited. So that means that I can only remove 2 trajectories, but it does mean I get rid of the intel marker. So with naval search, you actually do not vie for initiative. The British will attempt to seize initiative. So they're rolling 2 dice with a +4, and with that they roll essentially an 11, which means that the British end up seizing initiative. So with the British seizing initiative, we move the tally marker back, and we're going to roll for weather. And on a 6, the weather turns bad. Now, I think that would generally be considered good for the Germans. So next up, we roll to figure out what the British are actually going to do with this activation. And they get a 5. So we consult this table here, and this is something that I just pulled from the solo playbook and kind of put a copy in here to keep it easy. And we're looking at this row because they haven't actually completed any convoys. And we look over here, which is a C result. So I'm going to quickly look up what that is, and then I'll be right back. So what that result means, so the first thing is I choose a convoy, and I choose the convoy with the fewest trajectory segments. So that's this convoy. And then they're going to try to complete, but in this case they can't complete because they are not pointed to Clyde. So I'm going to basically do a trajectory action with them as my first step. So I'm going to do a trajectory action, which is going to finish taking them all the way to Clyde. I said Plymouth early on, and I meant Clyde. Sorry, Plymouth isn't even on this game board, I should say. So now they have a trajectory which takes them all the way to Clyde, and then with that they still can't complete because they have greater than 6 segments. So now they're going to do a time lapse, and in bad weather, the time lapse, they roll a die, and so they are going to remove 4 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. So that is that, and because they did a time lapse, that means that the initiative automatically passes back to me as the Germans. Going to stop this video here, and we will be back in the next video to pick it up with the second German activation. Thanks for joining me for this. Hope you're enjoying the video. If you're enjoying the video, the channel, it would be great if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell. Doing things like commenting and sharing and liking also helps the channel and helps the videos. But thanks very much, and we'll see you in the next video for more of Atlantic Chase.